OffBeat Sports podcast.
It's been a tale of two seasons for the Boston Celtics.
I probably aged about 10 years just from that series.
I'd probably compare myself to just a younger, smarter, more handsome, stronger Michael Jordan.
Let's go Celtics. Go Patriots.
These are guys who, when you give them a bowl of Cheerios in the morning, they finish every last drop of milk.
Absolute clown over here.
I'm ready when you are, baby.
Alrighty, everybody. Welcome back to the OffBeat Sports podcast. Cross here with my co-hosts Voci and Aidan. Welcome to the show, boys.
Over here. You know what I mean?
Always be trusting the process in Boston.
Trusting the process, man.
Hey, I said it before, and I'll keep saying I am going to be absolutely intolerable when the Celtics beat Philly, and I've been going off on Twitter.
They have
and
been
Instagram.
trusting the process for a long time. I have a feeling not a lot of people are going to keep trusting the process.
Poverty franchise. Poverty
process.
Poverty. Fire the coach.
I do think they're going to fire.
Trade the whole team.
I do think they're going to fire. I do think they're going to fire.
If with Monty Williams on the block, Doc's gone because the Suns fired Monty Williams.
Also, Coach Bud, he didn't get picked up yet, right? And I think he's a better coach.
But I think I'd rather have Monty Williams.
I do think Monty Williams kind of took that Heat team and kind of turned.
We are not a Philly podcast, though.
So
we're not a Philly podcast. So screw Philly, screw the Heat. Celtics going all the way. Celtics championship. Tatum's the GOAT. Dropped the 50 bomb. Game 7 record. Oh, I loved it. Hey, I had no doubts on my Celtics. I know a lot of people after Game 5 were doubting, narrative. And I was like, Celtics in 7 all the way. You got to believe. If you saw my Ted Lasso graphic, believe. Always believe.
I've never seen the narrative of a player change within so fast. I mean, from the first 3 quarters of that Game 6, you would have Tatum was going to lose you the series, and then he went and turned it all around and completely won you that series. And he completely swung the narrative on him, as far as that, this playoff run.
I know.
Within 5 quarters, he went from literally losing you the series. Everyone was like Jaylen Brown and all this other stuff, and even I was starting to hit that fence of all right, how come you can't just be consistent and be the guy? And then all of a sudden he just turned it up. And
imagine we lost that series, the Tatum slander would have been whack, and now he's the hero.
Now he's Jesus.
Nuts. Aidan, how'd you feel about that series?
Yeah. Well, I just think everybody likes to overreact, right? I mean, if we had lost,
that's the life of a Boston fan.
Yeah,
I don't know how you overreact to 0 for 11. In the first half of a game in a game.
We get really into the game, but I just think that if we lost in 6, Tatum would have been getting a lot of slander at least through October. It would not. I saw somewhere that said that if we lost in 6 to Philly, that would arguably be worse than losing the finals, considering how our season is going.
It would easily be worse because it was so
at least
clear
you make it
you were
the
better. Yeah. It was so clear that you're the better team. And it was Game 7 showed you that this series should have been over earlier because look at what we did. It showed you that it was
Game 2, we won by 30. If we had just played the way we should play, that series would have been over.
If we didn't have 2 Harden 2018 turn back the clock games, it would have been a sweep. I mean, he had those incredible games.
He's still a good player. I mean, that Game 7 was ridiculous, but for him. But I mean, he's still a good player. It's just
you see Embiid's post game interview.
Yeah, we can't.
He's
play with just 2 guys.
We can't play by ourselves, dude. You guys combined for 24 points.
24 points. They played awful.
I get if each of them had scored 30, and then you say that although you shouldn't call it your teammates like that, but you guys weren't even the top 2 leading scorers. There were 2 guys that had scored.
Maxey was trying to bring him back. He was willing himself to shoot in the last 10 minutes of the game. He was literally doing everything he could to create shots for himself. If you watch the game, it was he was trying to will them by himself.
Yeah, and
it was I don't know how you call out the rest of your team when it's it's not they're all playing lack of effort. I mean, I don't know. PJ Tucker plays hard and he's a vet. I don't know. What do you want? It's not they're a super deep team.
Yeah, well, that's what I think separates the Celtics from a lot of other teams, especially with you look at the 3 teams left in Miami, LA, and Denver. The Celtics can win games where Tatum or Brown aren't on. I mean, Tatum he struggled for 40 minutes in Game 6. JB only had 17 in that game, and we still found a way to beat them. Whereas other teams, We saw in Game 7 with Embiid and Harden both struggling. They can't win when those guys aren't on. Miami has no chance
We
of
have
winning
so
if
many
Butler
damn
doesn't go
options.
off.
The thing is, we have
So-
such good top end talent, but the fact that we have a lot of guys to back that up
We have
is the
depth.
difference is the difference maker between us and a lot
Like
of the other
Derek White, Brogdon would all be like second options on like most teams.
on like most like
And-
mediocre middle of the road teams. Those guys are like second and third options, and
They
here
would
they're like
start on like
they're like
25
5 and 6
other teams.
And then Rob's like such like a safety valve. Like you could just get downhill and like toss it up to him if you really have to.
Half
Like
the time when Rob
Al,
was down,
although Al struggled, he's been shooting great this season. I expect him to find his way, and like
I mean, he played
being able to kick
impeccable
it out to him.
defense.
Yeah. Oh my God. Like, who gives a shit if he was locking down? Let's talk about the wall that Al and Brown put up on those two. Even in Game 7, Smart when he got switched on to Harden, he played great.
Did you say they
I think-
took back the technical on Brown or the
Yes.
flagrant?
took
or
it
whatever
back,
it was?
yeah.
How
But,
absurd is that? It's
I don't
the
know what
Scott
that
Foster
means,
rule.
though. I don't know what that means.
It
though.
means
like, what,
it means it wouldn't count towards like if he
his total
so say he
flagrants
reached
for the season.
well,
or
so if
whatever,
he had reached a certain number of techs or flagrants in the playoffs, he'd be suspended a game.
for a game
Yeah.
like Draymond
Basically,
did a couple years ago.
so basically it rescinds that, which
Yeah,
good
and I
also
know that
doesn't matter at this point. But
yeah,
I mean,
players
George
gotta
Niang
pay
is an
fines,
idiot.
too.
I don't know why you'd ever grab someone's knee. It's like everything's on replay. I don't know why you would do something like that.
But like in Scott Foster, you like first of all, I think the reason they still called it after they reviewed because I don't think you can rescind a tech once you call it. But like, how do you just think after a play that like nothing really happened, like why would Jaylen Brown be turning and yelling and taunting the other team? Like clearly something happened for him to be yelling like that.
The-
Like he wasn't taunting after diving to save a ball. Like that's just dumb.
The thing I thought was funny about the game the most, like besides that play, or what, like I don't think it's lack of acknowledgement, but obviously Tatum went off after, he was hot from the start, but they weren't like killing them or anything. And then once that series of plays happened where Brown got the technical and he hit the 2 free throws and then he got the steal and put it in, he like completely changed like the
Oh
narrative.
yeah,
of
Brown
that
changed
quarter.
that. Brown
Like,
changed that game.
When that happened is when they started to like hit their stride. With
Tatum
like,
put it away.
Tatum
Tatum
was
put
doing
it
good.
away and extended it, but Brown got us back the lead because we were down 9, right? He
Brown
got us
like
back.
shifted the energy or
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
Like,
he
Yeah.
got
really
us back
actually
that
did.
lead. He got us back that lead. He put the momentum in the right way, and Tatum just nailed the coffin shut.
Yeah.
Like all I could think of was that tweet. Like as soon as that happened and like those two like series of plays happened where he had such like impact like so fast and turned around and had such big energy and like in the moment, I was like, it's exactly like what the tweet was and everything like that from like a year ago. It was exactly like that. Like you could have said the same thing in that moment. Everything shifted from that moment, and that's when they took off.
Yeah, that's really become a trend in the playoffs too this season. I mean, you look at the games in Philly, especially in the Atlanta series. JB has been very aggressive early on in the game, really gets their offense going, and that kind of allows Tatum to kind of ease into the game a little bit. He's had some rough starts in the last series, but kind of JB gets it going, and then JT usually will pick it up and finish off strong.
And like, although like, yeah, Tatum had a good start to that game, even with Ian Brown, so did Brown, but like, it's so nice to have that flexibility where you can bounce it off. And is it bad that like I'm happier that they like kept the Sixers in the game until halftime and then blew the doors off them in the third quarter? Because like if we had done that in the first half, I would have been concerned that they would have came back. Like, is it bad that like I'm that concerned that if we had a 20-point lead in the first half that they would blow it?
Third quarter Celtics are my least favorite team ever, but that's just my own.
That game was good. Yeah.
All right.
Well,
So
let's get into the Heat series. It's gonna be a good one. We got last 3 out of 4 years we've been playing the Heat in Eastern Conference Finals. So I mean, we're back to back rematch. This will be fun.
do you want to just do like we each go through the whole starting lineup, or do you want to go like position by position each one of us?
Let's go position by position. How about that?
You want me to start?
Yeah. So what do we got for point
I'll
guard? We
start
got
with
Marcus Smart.
So we're gonna go point guard. We're gonna go 1 to 5. Okay. So we have Smart, and then we said Vincent and Lowry. They played equal.
Yeah, they
kind of
go back and forth
against the Knicks.
Technically, Vincent starts, but I consider Lowry the starter.
I mean, I think if we're gonna be like honest, probably Lowry's probably a better offensive player than Smart in general of his whole career. But I mean,
The way
Smart's
Smart's been
really
playing
taking
these playoffs, though.
Smart's
Yeah.
been taking like the right shots, which has been the huge thing for me. Like when I watch him, it's like I'm not just like, what are you doing every time he shoots
Well,
the ball?
and there's some
has been
games where
huge,
he's
you
like
know?
he's not hitting them, but they're still wide open. So
I
there's,
don't
there's
remember
still
what
good
game of the series
shots.
it was where Smart had was it game 5 or 6? Smart had like 18 points, but it was like the perfect game for
Oh, it
him
was
to have like
6.
a good
It
shooting.
was 6 when Tatum was struggling.
It
Smart
was like the
literally
perfect game
carried
for
us through that
him
game.
it was a perfect game for
He had
him to be like,
22
all right,
points, yeah.
well, yeah, it was a perfect game for him to be like, all right, well, I'm gonna make my own shot and find my way to score if other guys can't. And it was the perfect opportunity for that to happen, and it did. I do think Smart's the better player in the matchup with either of those two players. If
Yeah.
this was like 3 years ago, I would have said Lowry, but not anymore.
I'm with you. I'm rolling with Smart, whether it be Vincent or Lowry. I'm rolling with Smart in this. Aidan, what about you?
If you took this back 3 years, I would have said
Yeah,
Lowry,
I
but
think
Yeah.
obviously all time you would give to Lowry just so he has the ring, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think right now compared to a 36-year-old Kyle Lowry who's been coming off the bench recently, I think Marcus Smart will have the advantage in this matchup, whether it's Vincent or Lowry. His defense is just so valuable, and when he's able to knock down shots too, that makes him all the more dangerous. So yeah, the other guys can't really compare to Marcus on defense. Not Lowry at age 36.
Yeah. So I mean, and when we look at, so I think we all agree with the Smart thing. So I guess
what's
we
the
can go
next
to
one? The 2?
so
Is it the 2?
shooting guard. They got Strus
Bruce
starting.
Brown.
I mean, you can
This-
go
I don't
Brown
really think-
or so if we're starting White, it would be White here. But I
I
think
don't
the
really
matchup's going to be.
care.
I think the matchup's going to be Brown Butler, but I will go with Brown Strus, and I think obviously Brown clears here. I don't think
Yeah.
Strus is a good shooter, but there's no
Yeah,
competition.
no
If-
real discussion on this one.
If-
Kai Brown's just a better player.
If I had to choose either Derek White, like depending on the lineup the Celtics run, which I still do think it's going to be Jaylen Brown at the 2, and then Tatum, and then Allen and Rob. But even if it was Derek White, I'd still choose him over Strus because Derek White's a great shooter and he's also impacts on both ends of the floor. I just think both of our 2 guards options there are way more like versatile than Strus. He's not bad. I just don't really think he compares.
Agreed. So going to the 3, we got the Mark game matchup of Jimmy Butler versus Jason Tatum. Yes. Okay. Let me go on a little rant. So Tatum's the better player. Yes. Tatum. Yeah, he has the accolades. He has first team All NBA. He has like the All-Star MVP. And it's stupid, yeah, but better seed. He's a superstar. Jimmy Butler is tough. I would argue that Jimmy Butler is more valuable to the Heat than Jason Tatum is to the Celtics. Yeah, it may sound weird, but it may sound weird, but Jimmy Butler in these playoffs, he has willed them to wins and willed them to this Eastern Conference
I don't think that's a hot take at all.
I don't think that's a hot take at all. I mean, if you think about it,
I didn't say it was a hot take, but I would say it sounds odd when you say it and when you hear it, but like if you actually like kind of be like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But like it's an odd like thing to say when Tatum is definitely the better player.
But if you think about it, right? Like if you took Butler off the Heat, where would they be? And if you took Tatum off the Celtics, I think they would still be successful.
I think they'd be like a 4 or 5 seed. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's obvious that like in game 6 or whatever games, like the Celtics, when Tatum has not always performed, they've still been able to keep themselves in games. If it wasn't for Butler, the Heat would not be where they are. Like it's not even like reasonably close. Obviously,
they barely made the playoffs with Butler.
Tatum obviously like sort of won them the last series in those last 2 games, but it's also like he had bad games through that series and in the playoffs. It's like, and they still are at this point. If Butler wasn't playing at the level he's been playing at, the Heat wouldn't even be anywhere near this series. They probably would have lost to the Knicks.
And Jimmy Butler, I honestly like,
especially with all their injuries.
Yeah, me and my dad watched some of the Heat games, and he's a dog. I'm not like I'm a Heat hater, but like you gotta like watching him play can be fun.
I'm not like a hater of them.
I don't want to say like Jason Tatum. like Jason Tatum's the better player. I'll get so if we're talking who's the better player, it's Jason Tatum. If we're talking matchup in this series, I'm saying equal because this is going to be a dogfight.
The thing about Butler to me that I think not puts him over Jason Tatum at all, because obviously Tatum has a lot more talent. I think just straight up, just pure talent. But Butler might be the most hard-nosed superstar in the league. Like, he just is he just grinds. And I think it's and I just respect the hell out of it, because a guy like Smart, he grinds, but it's not like he's the number one guy. Butler puts that energy into the game, and he's the number one guy. He's willing to dive across the floor. He plays really hard nosed. And I think that's the difference maker. If Tatum can kind of match that energy, it's going to be a really crazy series.
Yeah. So I'm going equal on this.
Yeah, it'll depend on who shows up, which Jason Tatum shows up in the series.
Yeah, I think
Jason Tatum plays like he did in Game 7. It's not even close.
If he keeps it going, I think it's going to be an amazing matchup either way. Because I'm not really worried about Butler not showing up. I think he's just so, I don't know, poised for this kind of thing.
Yeah,
I say Tatum isn't, but he hasn't shown us that he can do it all series. So
Tatum is definitely the better player. Even though last year when we did play against Miami, didn't Butler have less than 10 points in half the games? I mean, everyone remembers the 45 and 32 he had in the final 2 games, but people forget he really did struggle early on in that series too. When we were able to grab a few games.
I just think Butler is mentally he gets in, he just knows how to get to guys, and I think that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Already plays.
Tatum is the better player, but yeah, matchup wise, I might give a slight advantage to Tatum just because he's improved from last season. And he kind of showed in Game 7 he can will his team to win too. But yeah, this will definitely be a dog fight, but I don't think this will be the matchup that determines who wins the series, because I think people already know these are 2 heavyweights going at it, almost equals.
Yeah, they almost cancel each other out. So the next
if we look at the 4.
So Kevin Love's been starting for them, and then I'm gonna go and say we're gonna have Al at the 4 because I think that's a good matchup.
Give me Daddy Al, Big Al Horford.
If I had to choose, I mean, the way that Al played against Joel Embiid, and I mean, if you really want to think about it, Kevin Love is a really good, versatile offensive player at the 4. He's always been like that, especially since he got to Cleveland and he started really taking the 3 ball and kind of stretching the offense. But Al did amazing guarding Joel Embiid, and he does the same type of thing at the center position, and he's a bigger impact player. So I'm not really worried about it on that end of the floor. So I mean, and Kevin Love's not the most amazing defender, and I think that, I don't know, that's something that they can sort of exploit, because Al's great in the post and he can also hit shots outside. So we'll see what happens. I think it's a good matchup, especially because they're both veterans and they both have a lot of experience and talent. So I mean, it doesn't cancel out. I definitely pick Al just because of the way he plays and the poise that he plays with, and his hustle. So I'm gonna go with Al, but I mean, it's a really good matchup.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. Al Horford is the better player. At this stage in Love's career, he's mostly offensive weapon. His defense isn't what it used to be. But yeah, I think considering how well Al played in the last series, I think you kind of have to pick Al. He showed that he can be an elite shooter when he needs to be. He was 5 for 7 from 3 in that one game, but he also showed he can lock up the MVP, which is key going forward because the other 3 teams left in the playoffs have elite centers and big men, and Al is going to need to be on his A game along with Rob and being able to slow down guys like Bam, AD, and Jokic. So I think Al proved in the last series he can do that, and he's definitely a better player than Kevin Love.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so let's go on to the center. So we got a Rob Williams versus Bam Adebayo matchup, and this is a good matchup. I think Rob does a good job on Bam, but Bam's the better player, so I'm rolling with Bam in this one. I don't think there's much there. I do really like Rob. Rob's a great defender, but I think Bam's got him.
Yeah, I love Rob and what he brings to the to the floor, especially on defense. Obviously, it's kind of his thing, but I just think it's not really close. If you're going to compare defense, I mean, Bam guards, he can guard 2 through 5 on the perimeter. He moves really well laterally. So, I mean, I have to give the nod to Bam, but I do think that Rob has a really good player to like kind of slow him down on the offensive side of the ball, because Bam is a really good offensive player as well. He does have versatility on both ends of the floor. So, I mean, it's a good matchup, but I have to give the nod to Bam. But I do think that Rob has the capability to slow him down a lot, and that's going to have a big impact too. Because like last year when we played them, Bam had a really big impact in that series. If you don't remember, I mean, he's their secondary star realistically on that roster. So, especially without Hero now, or Hero, however you say his last name.
Yeah,
We actually
whatever.
did a good job of slowing down Bam last year. I thought Rob did a really good job on Bam.
Hero, don't matter. Celtics in 5.
All right. So, I mean, I think.
All right.
Yeah,
All right.
I mean, Bam is clearly the better player, but I would argue Rob has a bigger impact on the Celtics than Bam does on Miami. The Celtics are a completely different team when Rob is healthy.
Yeah, we saw that, especially at the end of that series.
All right, so let's look at real quick. We don't really have to talk about it much. Bench versus bench. Who's got the better bench?
So
obviously we do.
I think
I'm going Celtics. Yeah,
the Celtics
with the injuries, because Celtics.
with that's the huge thing, and that's like I would say key to this series, and I think it's kind of like maybe not everyone's thinking about, because you look at the stars and you think, well, if Tatum can take over Butler and whatever, if Brown can really like take over Strus, all that stuff, but if the bench of the Celtics can really like take advantage of the fact that the talent level on the other side of the ball, of the other side of the court right now, is not even going to be near their like level of depth, and really like get points off the bench and capitalize on that, I think it's going to be huge, because I don't think it's even close. I mean, if you think about what if the Celtics subbed out 5 for 5 and they put in their, first 5 off the bench, especially right now with the injuries in Miami, it's not even close. If you had Oladipo and Tyler Hero, I think it's a totally different conversation, because those guys kind of equate, or more in my eyes, to White and Brogdon. But right, I think that's like the key, like the secondary key that not a lot of people think about. If they can take advantage of that bench matchup and how much depth they have over them right now and skill, then I think it's going to be like a sellout.
I agree. So when we look at the coaches, I think we can all agree they get the better coach. Spoelstra's just, I think, a mastermind, I would say, and
He has
he's
the
really
experience.
shown. I just say he's really shown his ability to coach any kind of team and to success. So, I mean, he brought an 8 seed who struggled all season to the Eastern Conference Finals. Joe Mazzulla, I love Joe Mazzulla. I'm not one of those people who hate on him, but I got to go with Spoelstra in this.
I don't hate on Mazzulla. I mean, we've seen him make some like questionable like coaching decisions late in games, whether you want to say he should have called timeouts in different spots, like game 5 or whatever you want to say, or even during the regular season. But I mean, that's going to happen. He's a first-year head coach. He's the youngest head coach in the league. Spoelstra's been in this position so many times in his career with different rosters and different makeups of teams, where it's like he knows what to do in these kind of situations. And it's probably the reason that the team is where it is, his being able to control those guys. But I mean, no, I have to give the nod to Spoelstra, but I do think Mazzulla's getting there, and he's making a lot of strides for a first year head coach.
For sure. Yeah. I think that you have to give it to Spoelstra right now, right? He's a championship winning coach. Mazzulla's a rookie head coach, just learning on the fly. He's even said that in post-game press conferences. But yeah, I mean, Mazzulla's gotten better as the year has gone on, but I think it's going to be definitely a challenge for him to keep pace with Spoelstra and his constant in-game adjustments. Spoelstra's always a tough coach for us to play against.
So let's.
All right, so we'll each give our final remarks. We'll kind of cap it off in a minute each. We'll try. So my keys to the series. I got 2 keys to the series. One, we just talked about, his coaching. Can Joe Mazzulla keep up with Spoelstra? Because Spoelstra's going to throw a bunch of crap at you, a lot of stuff we haven't seen yet. He's going to throw zone at you. Can he be the only coach to solve the Miami Heat zone in the last 8 years? Because for some reason nobody's been able to figure it out effectively and constantly. So can he do that? And My second keys to the game is who has the bigger balls, Jimmy Butler or Jason Tatum? Can Jason Tatum really, really make that matchup tough for Jimmy Butler and make it so he doesn't have like his performance doesn't matter? Because if Jason Tatum's playing just as well as he did in a couple of those Sixers games, then it won't matter what Jimmy Butler does. So it's all, Voci, you'll remember this one. It's all about the testicular fortitude. All about the testicular fortitude. We've used that phrase a few times on the show. I think Voci coined it, but it's all about that. So Aidan,
good phrase. What's your game like? What's your
Celtics in 5.
Bold.
Dude, they're an 8 seed. We should beat them in 5.
You got to be careful not to underestimate these guys, though. Can't end up like Milwaukee.
I mean, they've literally been dogs the entire time they've taken it to heart, and they've made it this far. So,
but
they have no bench. I'm not worried.
Yeah, to kind of go off of what you said, I think a huge key to this series is 3-point shooting. You look at the first round series the Heat played against the Bucks. They shot, I think it was overall like 45% from 3. The worst game they had in that series from 3, I think they shot 38 or 39.
Who, Miami did?
Yeah, they were on fire from 3 in that series.
Well, like, because the Heat want to win games like in the 90s. They like if they can hold you to 90 points, they're gonna beat you.
But this is my point, right? So they were on fire versus the Bucks, and we all know the Bucks, their drop coverage, they give up threes, and the Heat burned them for that. But then you look at their series versus the Knicks that they just played, that 3-point shooting fell off a cliff. I think the highest 3-point percentage in the game they had that series was like 34%. Most of the time they were in the 20s. And that was a close series. The Knicks make a couple buckets that could have gone 7. So I think it's going to be key how the Celtics guard the 3 in this series. They got shooters in Strus, Robinson, and they have a couple other guys that can knock them down if they're wide open. So the Celtics got to be up on those shooters, and they really got to get into the shooters' airspace and really make those shots difficult, because they can stop the Heat from hitting threes. The guys like Strus and Robinson prevent them from getting hot. The Heat don't have many other options who can keep up with the Celtics in a shootout if some of their guys start to get hot. So that's a big key. And then another one will be Bam Adebayo. Butler's going to get his in this series, as I think Brown and Tatum will, but it's going to be a key on how Rob and Al go at Bam. Just coming off of a great series limiting Embiid, they're going to have to do a great job on Bam. If they can do that, series could be over quicker than expected. But with that being said, I'm going to be cautious and have the Celtics winning in 6. I think Jimmy Butler single-handedly could grab them a game or 2. But I think as long as the Celtics take their opponent seriously, don't play down to the Heat's level, there's no doubt they should win this series, go back to the finals for a second straight year.
So I'll kind of like pony off of whatever what you said, but like I said, I think that the bench is a huge thing in this because of the injuries with Miami. I mean, if they can really capitalize on the fact that they have way more like emphasis coming off the bench with Brogdon and White, I think that's huge, because I think that those two can provide and play really good defense on anyone that's coming off the bench for Miami right now. So I think that's a big thing. And so the bench is a huge thing for me. I think they really need to capitalize on that. And then it's really like, the only other thing for me is, I know Tatum needs to step up and like play consistently and play like he can, not like game 7, but like he can for the whole series. You can't just show up in like one game. And I know that it was a huge game, but it's like, you got to be able to provide every game. And I know he does a good job of finding ways to provide even when he's not hitting his shots, which has been huge and then difference maker of him this year. But I got to see it like more consistently and see him be more aggressive and like wanting to get shots going. And but the main key for me is outside of Tatum, Brown needs to exploit the matchup that he has with Strus right now, because I don't think that Strus can guard Brown. So I mean, especially with Tatum having Butler on him, and Butler's a great defender, Brown should eat alive on Strus, especially if you think about just Strus isn't the best defender. That's like, Brown should capitalize on that. like how they did Game 7, finding guys that are open. When Tatum was guarded, they passed the ball around. They found Brown. He was started hitting threes. He kind of like had a really good second half. So I mean, if they can play like that, I think Brown can really capitalize and make a huge difference. I'm gonna say Celtics in 6 too, just because I don't want to put these guys down and say that they're, that will just
Season
kill them.
5.
But I don't know. I think that Brown and Tatum is a huge thing, but I just think Butler is just a different type of animal with this thing, and how he's been playing. It's going to be huge. So
Hey,
yeah, I'm
and
going to say Celtics in 6.
honestly, with me, my Celtics in 5. It's no disrespect to the Heat. I just believe in the Celtics that much because I actually have a lot of respect for Jimmy Butler and how he plays, and but I just really believe in the Celtics team. And speaking of believe, I worked really hard on this graphic, so I'm just going to keep putting up. Believe, come on. If you guys haven't watched Ted Lasso, go watch it. Fantastic show, top 5 show of all time. So
Sponsored by Ted Lasso.
Sponsored by Apple TV and Ted Lasso. Don't sue us. All right. Well, I think that was solid. We all got our takes. What are you laughing at, Voci? Yeah, get a little bit tighter shirt. All right. Thanks, guys, for joining us. We appreciate it. This was good.
Trust the process.
Trust the process, baby. Philly,
Trust
you can
it.
eat it.
I can humbly say I'm one of the best podcasters in the world.
I can humbly say this is the best sports podcast ever created. Humbly. All right. Thanks everyone for listening. We appreciate it. We'll see you next time on OffBeat Sports. Be sure to check us out on our socials at @offbeat_sports on Instagram, at OffBeat Sports on TikTok, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We will see you next time.
Call them all Texas.